Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Upset Podcast, the newest podcast coming out Allegheny East Conference. My name is Latasha Hewitt, and we're excited because we have wonderful co-hosts for this podcast. We're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves to them at this time. What's up, my fellow upsetters? How you doing?
Hey there.
Doing great.
Good to be here. Good
Yep.
to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Now, I kind of alluded to the fact that there is one common denominator between all of us, and that's that we all work for Allegheny East Conference, but that's just one common denominator. There's so many different things that distinguish us, and we want to give our audience a chance to get to know these co-hosts who will be upsetting us through this podcasting process. So let's start off, since ministry is one of the things that we have in common. Let's kind of go around and talk about how many years we've been in ministry. Charles, let's start with you.
34, be 35 this year. 35
Wow.
years in March.
Wow.
So hard to imagine. Awesome, awesome. What about you, Tally?
Well, I started with Allegheny East in 1980. I took a hiatus, but I've always been involved in ministry. So count from 1980 to 2020, and I guess you're looking at 40 years.
Wow.
I
Impressive.
was only 3 years old when I started.
Obviously, yes. Pat Graham.
Yep. This year, April 1st, it'll be 20 years. 20 years.
20 years.
20 years.
All right. What about you, Justin?
Well, I've been at Allegheny East Conference for about a year and change, but I've been in pastoral ministry for about 7.5 years.
All right. All right. We got some years. And I guess I have to count myself too, huh? Well, I've been with Allegheny East for 10 years.
Wow.
And I always know how long it's been because I started the year, almost the month, my youngest daughter was born. So 10 years. All right. So now I don't want to say it like this, but now that we've got ministry out of the way, let's talk about who we are. As
Got
people.
ministry out of the way. We're already upsetting it, right?
Let's get ministry out of the way. Who are we? When we're talking about a podcast and host, the thing is you want to know who the people are that you're talking to, not the titles they hold. We know we have pastors here, we have a youth director here, we have a media director here, but who are we? Where are our opinions coming from? So let's dig a little deeper. How would you say how would your friends describe you? Give me 2 adjectives, your friends, those who know you the most. What are 2 adjectives they would use to describe you? We're going to start with you, Pat, this time.
Why you gotta start with me with that guy?
Because I saw you smiling.
Now I gotta remember what an adjective
Well, I
is.
know where friends probably say resistant and truculent from right there, but
I think my friends would be like, man, he's hyperactivity. But on the other spectrum, I think I'm a thoughtful person. So I'll go right on hyper. I just love to talk about things, like to put things on the table. And so I think, though, if I could just say, I can't count. So let's say hyperactivity, but I'm still a thoughtful person.
Okay. Hyper and thoughtful.
Yeah.
Even your friend, those who are not your friends would say those things about you. I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of things those who are not my friends would say about me. But
All right, Justin.
I think my friends would describe me as both low-key crazy, but wise and insightful. Here you go.
Good. I like how you did that. You doubled it up. All right. Call him Tally. Tally, you have a lot of nicknames. We call you Tally, Nick.
it's according to what agency of the law I'm running from at that specific time. But my friends would probably say funny and articulate. Those 2 would probably be the 2 things that they'd say.
Very accurate.
If you allow for 4, funny, articulate, and swimsuit model. But,
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Obviously, yes. Only your friends would know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Blind ones. Yeah.
All right, Charles. Now I call him Charles. I just have this thing, but I know everyone else calls him Chuck. But so what are your strategies?
That's fine. No, that's good. I don't know if workaholic would classify.
Yes.
Yes, it sure will. That's it.
Yeah. See, everybody agrees. Workaholic and determined.
Those kind
My
of go
friends
hand
say
in hand.
you just don't give up. You just, you're like water, you just go right around the rock when you're flowing down and just keep going.
Yeah, we're gonna have to try to help you with that. Always have to try to encourage Charles to take vacations and stuff like that. The thing about asking these questions is that in the end, you have to answer them too. It's difficult.
Yeah.
So,
Sally, go on and ask her then. Ask her.
Yeah, I mean, if your friends were to have two words about you, Latasha, what would those two words be? Thank you very much. Now let's move on. No, I'm kidding.
I know, right? Pensive.
Pensive.
My friends, those who know me know me. I can be a little crazy too. I think I have a sense of humor. Not many people get to see, but my friends kind of get to see it. I have more of that sarcastic humor,
Okay.
I would say. And why is it so hard for me? This is an easy question for me to ask. It's hard for me to answer. And I would say loyal. That's my other one.
Somewhere in the background, I hear your husband applauding wildly.
We would hope. All right. So I didn't even give us, I'm hoping people can read and see our names, but, some people are listening to us. So maybe we should officially say who we are. And when you're doing that, give us your nicknames, the other names that people call you. I kind of alluded to some. Like for me, I'm Latasha, but people call me Tasha. They call me Tosh. Charles, we talked about yours. What are some of your names?
Well, the original name is Charles, and most people call me Chuck.
Charles and Chuck. Those two.
Yeah.
All right, Tally.
Wow. My original people who have known me from my youth call me William. People who knew me from college call me Bill. People who knew me from ministry call me Tally. People who knew me after I started my radio career call me Nick. And all of those names will come together at some point. I'll answer to all of them.
What does the FBI know you as?
The black guy. The black guy.
I love it. What about you, Justin?
Well, my name is Justin, but people also call me GP.
GP.
Right.
Justin Pierre. And we like to always talk about how people mispronounce your name. You want to go ahead and clear it up? What are some of those mispronunciations you get?
If you're speaking in French, it's Gaston.
Gaston.
Some people call me Gaston or Justin, but my name is my name. Justin is my name, but I answer to everything, just like Tally. I answer to whatever I hear, which can be a bad thing sometimes. But
I was at his
My
wedding.
name in French is Charles.
I was at Justin's
Don't call me that.
wedding reception, and everybody was calling him Just Stoned. And so
Just stoned.
Just Stoned. Yes, but that's a whole nother show.
Yeah. Remind me to bring that up in the next segments that we're gonna come up with. Just stoned.
Just stoned.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Justin. All right, Pat. We see Pat there.
So my name is Patrick, but my friends call me Pat. And I like to answer to Pat. Patrick means to me like there's something business going on or something like that. But Patrick and my friends call me Pat.
Okay. P.
When your mother had to chastise you, did she say Patrick or did she say Pat?
No, I can't say the name. That my mom calls me when.
If she called your name, she would call you
Pat.
Pat.
And I'm going to leave it at that until we start talking about in one of our shows what parents do to us that they could be locked up for from back in the day.
Absolutely.
Oh no!
That'll upset them.
All right, so let's provide some context to who we are outside of ministry. When you're not doing your day job, as they say, what are some of the things you do for fun?
Oh my
goodness. Tally, I see you.
About that. I remember fun. I was young once and I had it. I remember it was right next to my money. Both of them are missing now. But for me, I think the good thing about aging is that the tributaries of your life converge, and the things you do for fun are the same things that you do for your labor. And for me, the things that I do for fun, reading, communicating, going different places, sharing with people, they all kind of merge. And so it's, but for me, the most enjoyable time that I have is sitting quietly, either like looking over a body of water or through the woods or just out my window. I live on the 14th floor and I overlook the biggest metropolitan park in the country, and it's just beautiful. I mean, that's enjoyable.
Okay.
Nice.
That's a contrast from your personality. You kind of
Yeah.
like the serene,
Yeah.
kind of low key vibe. All right. Okay. What about you, Justin?
I enjoy, just surfing on Clubhouse, like
Clubhouse.
Oh wow.
Clubhouse, and listening to the conversations, perusing Instagram. I like podcasting and listening to podcasts and helping produce podcasts. And I also like listening to music and also traveling. Before COVID, I enjoyed traveling.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Got a lot of interest there. In Clubhouses, it's like all the rave. I haven't joined yet, but I guess I
Yeah,
need
neither
to.
have I.
I need to get on there because I'm scared to, because everybody who's on it right now seems to be so into it, invested in it. It's hard for them to get out. I'm scared of that. I'm scared of something else taking over my life, but it seems to be kind of fun. All right, Pat, what do you do when you're not doing what you do?
Really? Oh my goodness. So many things that I like doing. But I'm gonna say like what Tally said. I'm like that basketball player that gets paid for doing what he likes to do, so it doesn't seem like he's working. And so that's why it's hard to. I understand, Chuck. It's hard to say let's take a vacation, let's stop doing what we're doing because it's just what I do anyway. But I love to be around people. I love young people. But other side of it is that I like putting music together. I still have a whole bunch of just releases that has not gone out yet, just songs that have been made that have not gone out yet. I love technology, and believe it or not, I like doing like home improvement. And it's
Wow.
fun doing home improvement. I don't know. She's happy when I do it, so then I'm fine. Fine.
That's right. Happy
I
wife,
want to make
happy
sure I
life.
understand. Pat, you sing?
No, I
You
don't.
play?
I produce music.
Oh, okay.
And so it's different. It really is different. So
Okay.
my next plan, and I think I talked to Jess about this. I'm planning on putting orchestra together,
Wow.
but I do it through computer. So I'm more like a music producer, but through MIDI music.
You're a digital impresario.
Okay, let me write that down. Hold on.
There you go.
Right.
That
Yeah.
did sound real good.
And that's the real truth. I cannot play for anyone, but I can put it together.
Gotcha.
So and even if it takes me longer to do it, it still gets done sometime or another. So that's what I like doing. You find I'll be spending a lot of time in the studio just working on stuff and never release it, but soon I'll release it soon. You'll hear it.
So that's not just a look behind you. You actually kind of use that equipment.
No, I use it. I
Okay.
use it. I sleep down here when I get in trouble. So this is what I am.
That's where some of the best songs are created.
Uh,
All right, Charles.
In the
What
dark.
do you do when you're not in that media center?
Well, like Pat and Tally, there's so many things I like to do for fun outside of here. One of them is photography.
Oh,
The photography was kind of my first love. I just, love shooting things. I was not more of a commercial photography. It was more like a street photographer sort of thing. So love that. And I also like studying the history of the indigenous people of this continent. It's one of my, if any of you have come to my office, you kind of get it, right? I have I hate to use the term Native American, but that's what some people understand, the indigenous people to be. But I like studying the indigenous people, the tribes. I have gone to several reservations and to sit with them and learn how they work, how they live, how they worship. It's very intriguing. And that's one. And reading. I love reading as well.
that's so cool. We're gonna have to talk more about that and what you've learned from those encounters. That's pretty amazing. Well, to me again, I have a lot of things that I like to do. I like to travel as well. Don't get to do that much right now. I also enjoy real estate. I love houses and anything that has to do with houses, whether it's decorating or things of that nature. I also love to read. Don't get to do that so much for fun anymore because I'm always reading manuscripts or writing different things. But I do enjoy a good book from time to time. So that's if I'm not doing what I'm doing professionally, that's what I'm doing on the side. Speaking of reading, because a lot of us mentioned that, anybody reading anything right now? Anything interesting that's on your bookshelf that you're opening up?
Well, another part of my life involves radio, and we're always reading
Oh
books. But
yes.
two books that I'm looking at right now uh, is Michael Eric Dyson's "A Long Time Coming,"
Mm.
which is his
Mhm.
latest book on the civil rights movement and the evolution of America towards a place where there's real equity and fairness, and looking at that. And then a novel that I just read, and I hardly ever read novels, is a novel by an author by the name of James Mcbride. James McBride lived in Philadelphia, but he's a native New Yorker. But his first book was about his mother, who was white and Jewish, and he is black.
Mm.
And then the name of the book that he just wrote was called Deacon King Kong.
Deacon King Kong.
Deacon King Kong, which was a very interesting look at 1969 New York in a project building, and a deacon who was known by the name Sport Coat, but also known as Deacon King Kong because of a bathtub liquor that he liked to drink. And
Oh no.
it's an
Okay.
interesting book, a very interesting book.
I was
Yeah,
wondering where that came from. I'm writing that one down.
yeah.
That's cool. Cool. What else? What else is everyone reading? Who's anyone in a good book right now?
Well, I am. I'm in A Promised Land right now.
Yeah, me too. I'm reading that. Barack Obama.
Yeah, yeah. It just puts us, I'm that little man that's sitting on his shoulder as he's going through his years of, and it's just amazing. You think you know him from TV or whatever, but as you read the book, you kind of see the real him and the family and his family. So
Mhm.
I'm going through that right now. That book.
Yeah, and I read Michelle's book first, obviously, and now it is cool to kind of see her side versus
Mhm.
or his side versus her side in terms of how they viewed entering the White House as this, first African American couple to do so, and it's pretty amazing. I'm enjoying what I'm reading so far.
I think the biggest problem with the book, though, that I'm reading, not problem, but the challenge that I'm having is trying to look at how he's running the country and how we're running church.
Uh-oh.
I'm looking at, oh, did I upset the, I guess,
No, that's what we're here for.
so,
Seeing some parallels there.
no, really, if you read through it, you kind of,
Shots fired, shots
well,
fired.
well, you kind of look at it and say to yourself,
Unpack that.
wow, I
Unpack
see the
that.
way he's doing it. Should we do it that way? Or, but I'm not gonna spoil the book. It's just great the way the inauguration, how it starts off, and I when I read it, my problem is, or my thing is, that I read it in context to where we work.
Mm,
Yeah, it makes sense. Leadership,
Mhm.
you know,
right.
he's very well respected, and so I get it. I get it.
What's that, Mr. President? You wanted to talk to Pat Graham? Yes, he's right here.
He's
Always
not
heard
picking
the
up. Trust
communion,
me.
right?
All right, Charles. You said you talked about reading some of the things you like to
Yeah.
read. Anything in particular you have
Yeah,
open up now?
A couple of things I'm reading. One is by Philip Yancey. It's called Vanishing Grace. It's one of his newer books, Vanishing Grace. Really insightful for today. Anyone involved in ministry really needs to read that book. And the other one is more along the lines of my studying or following the history of the indigenous people of this country. It's called Killers of the Flower Moon.
Mm.
And it's a book basically about the massacre of the Sioux tribes. And it was also the first major crime that the FBI had to investigate. In fact, some people say that the the indigenous people in that area, who were very wealthy, by the way, at that time. This was the FBI's first major investigation, and it kind of created the FBI. So it's called Killers of the Flower Moon by David Gran.
Right.
And very interesting about that particular tribe and the sorrows they went through.
That's so interesting. I'm writing these books down because you guys are making them sound pretty good. Justin, what's on your bookshelf?
Yeah, a book that I'm reading right now is called From Dude to Dad, because
yeah.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I think so.
From dude to dad. So let's go ahead and make that
goes back. That goes back to asking about his favorite pastimes. But go ahead.
So Justin's about to be a dad. When is your wife due again? Share with the.
In early April, God willing, our baby daughter will be here.
Yay! We're
Bless
so
you,
excited.
man.
First time dad. Now, Charles, I know you have all boys. Patrick, you do have a girl. You have any advice for Justin about these girls, raising girls?
Yeah, go down to the county.
We already know where this is going.
and go pick up a license. I know we're gonna talk about that one day of bearing arms. I know we're gonna talk about it one day. It's in our queue, but yeah, you go get that first, and then everything's gonna be all right. Nah, to tell you the truth, man, daughters are just a game changer, a life changer.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to, I had two boys first, then my daughter. So she is just taking my whole life. So hold on to your bank account. You think the wives on the bank account?
How old is your daughter, Pat?
She's going to be 22 next week.
What?
Nice.
Oh wow. My daughter is 35, and I only have one child, and that's a daughter.
Okay.
And I want you to know, Justin, that right around the age 13 or 14, there's a movie called The Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Somebody's going to come and take your sweet little girl out of the house and replace her with somebody that looks just like her, but was spawned in the 7th level of Dante's Inferno.
You can't start them off
You need
like
to know that. I mean, that's going to happen. And you will go from being daddy who is 10 feet tall and bulletproof to the village idiot in one day.
He's
when
right.
Your daughter gets between 13 and 14.
He's right.
Call me when it happens. You're going to need help.
Will do. I'll take you up on that offer.
You're gonna need two therapists, one for the day and one for the night.
Oh, mercy. As a daddy's girl, Justin, I will say that the role you're going to play in that young girl's life is, I mean, you can't even imagine. I'm still a daddy's girl, 40 plus years later. And just know that she's looking to you to see what the world should be like. Everything I do, every decision I make, I base it off of a lot of the things that my father taught me. Wow. So,
that's beautiful.
It's a big task, but just know that no matter what, there's always someone who's going to be looking to you for the answers to life.
Let me tell you, man.
But we're excited for you.
I could come to daughters, granddaughters. I have 2 granddaughters and 1 great granddaughter.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, and make one correction on the book that I told you about.
Okay.
There's so many tribes. There are like 600 tribes, that settled in this land. I said the Sioux tribe from the Killers of the Flower Moon. It's the Osage tribe. Osage. And you'll see that on the cover of the book, if you end up reading it. Anyway, yeah. I'll show you some pictures, but, this could go on and on.
Just get ready, Justin. Just get ready.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get ready.
How are you getting ready right now? Like, what is some of the prep you're doing?
Reading the book.
Reading books, guys. Going to every single appointment, asking the doctor all the questions I can, trying to get the room ready is the next phase. Just preparing everything and ensuring that she is comfortable and has everything she needs. So, yeah.
Listen, wait till you learn how to change a diaper with one hand.
Wow.
It'll be nice. After a while, you just be like on the phone and like.
I can tell you, when my boys were younger, I I have a friend that was a parenting specialist, and I was on the phone with her like every week. My kid did this and I did that. Did I do that right? Should I have said that? I was like, I wanted to be right. I wanted to be a good
Right.
parent. And, so I called a friend who was professionally, parenting specialist. And most times she said, take it easy, take a breath. You're fine. You'll be all right.
Yeah. Yeah. A
But
lot of
yeah,
it's instinctual.
sometimes you're going to feel like, maybe I'm not that great a parent, but those times will come.
Hey, just on, they bounce, okay? They bounce. If you drop them, they bounce. The first one is going to be a problem, but the second one, you're going to allow them to juggle knives. You're going to be all right.
I just want all of you to know that when Pat was changing those diapers with one hand, we all thought his children were Muslim because they were wearing turbans by the
On their
time it was
heads,
finished. It never came out right. So
Mercy, but we're excited. We're excited for you. That's going to be a major milestone, and we're sure we'll have a lot of content coming just from that alone. Your experiences as a
we
new
can't
father.
wait to welcome little Gestonia.
Gestonia, no. Do you have the name? Do you have the name picked out?
I do. Her name will be Elizabeth.
Oh, I like
Gestonia is better.
plastic.
Yeah, Gestonia. I like Gestonia. We will call her Gestonia Tally.
That
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Some male names should just not be converted into something. That's one of them. Sorry. All right. So, this is this crew. One of the things about us is we like to have fun. We all are professed Christians, not just professed, but we hope that
Did you hear how she said that, fellas?
Yeah.
We are all professed Christians.
that's my disclaimer.
Like the jury is still out.
They told me they were Christians, but
Yeah.
if they say something left, don't blame me. That's what they profess.
I think
gosh.
they Christians.
But no, we're coming together as a team. As much as we have in common, there's so many differences among us. I don't know how you all classify yourselves in terms of thought. Like, are you conservative? Are you liberal? Are you, what can the people expect from you and your personality in this podcast?
Don't ask Tally, please. Are you gonna ask Tally?
Well, I'd like to say that I don't like the word liberal.
Okay.
I think I like the word progressive more than liberal. So yeah, I'm far from conservative. Very far.
I can attest to that. I asked Charles to lend me $10, and he was not liberal at all. not even a little.
I think what's going to be funny in this podcast on my end is that I grew up conservative, and so now I'm going through a slide. Where I could look back now and say, "Oh my goodness, I thought it was going to be this, and I thought it was going to be that," according to some of the things that my belief was on. So I can't wait to see what I'm going to say or how I'm going to feel concerning what comes up. But I'll stay hyper, but thoughtful.
We can definitely count on that hyperness from you.
I think that labels are a lazy approach to circumnavigate getting to know a person for who they are. Okay. Donald Trump identifies as conservative, and there's not a conservative thing about him when it comes to his politics. He pretends that. I mean, and so people try to use shortcuts to categorize people. I know that there are certain things, ways that I think that some people would classify as very liberal, and then there are other ways that I think that people would classify as very conservative.
Yeah.
And it's all across the spectrum. It's according to what the issue is and how the issue interacts and impinges upon a particular situation. So I'll probably be everywhere. They probably would say I'm schizophrenic.
But I think bottom line though, with this podcast, we're hoping to get people to be individual.
Absolutely.
Think individually. It's all right to be a part of a group, part of a church, part of an organization, but don't lose your individuality.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be scary though, because I look forward to it, because I think that when we start to have these discussions, I might feel a way today that I won't feel tomorrow as far as this concerned. So I think that's what's going to make it exciting, that we might have watched a political newscast one day and felt a certain way, and then when we hear it next week, we'll feel a totally different way. I remember saying there are certain things I would have never done that I'm saying it's okay to do it now. So I think that when we get into this really big argument and people start to share it with other people and people start to subscribe to us, and I just think that Pat and Justin will just get fired. That's all.
He had to put you in.
I had to add you in with you, man.
You're not going out alone.
It's all good. It's all good. We're here to push the envelope and to, have those conversations that are sometimes uncomfortable. So
Sure.
That's right.
And we should be willing to agree to disagree. I mean,
Exactly.
if we're all thinking and saying the same thing, I mean, what's there to be upset, right?
I don't agree with that.
right away, right? But you know what? I really want to know what our producer thinks. I know she's always throwing out a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm willing to push and see what she thinks about certain things and maybe get her daddy upset.
No, I like that word progressive that Charles used. I think I come from a place of principle. So, and that principle changes, like was said, depending on the topic or the subject matter. I mean, I just weigh everything against certain principles that I have. So I grew up conservatively as well, but since then I've changed a lot of the way I think, because now I'm thinking for my own, not on my own, not what I was taught per se. I've learned that, hey, I have a mind too, and I can form my own conclusions. Wow, who knew? And so that's what I've been doing, and I'm looking forward to sharing my point of view on a few things, and I'm looking forward to being open-minded to have some of my views change. I think we have a great group of people here that we can all learn from, and I'm looking forward to the interaction with you guys. Really,
real quick,
well, when you said you grew up conservative. I thought about how I grew up. What did I grow? I just grew up on Ridge Avenue in Philadelphia.
And that might work. So
that explains why his granddaughter's a track star.
That's probably right.
Trust me.
Know how to run that thing through. But I wanted to ask you, what your shirt? What does that mean?
Oh yes, I know it's kind of coming. This is Black History Month, and this is human. I'm a human. We're all human.
But that's your hue.
Yes, and we all come in different hues, different shades. Shout out to Black Forward. This is where I purchased this. Erica Keefe is one of our AEC members who has her own business. But I really liked it because I think it just neutralizes, with everything going on.
I thought it was something to do with her last name, Hewitt or Hugh something.
No, but I didn't even think about that. But no, this is about recognizing that we're all human.
Oh, gotcha.
We may come in different shades, but that's one thing we have in common.
And that's Erica Keith did that, huh?
Yeah. This is one of her shirts. She has a whole line, and we like.
This is when you know you're old. I mean, she was one of my kids when I was a pastor.
Wow.
And now she has her own company.
Yeah.
Well, how long you said you've been in the work?
I remember I was talking to Methuselah saying, I'm thinking about going into the ministry, and he said, "Well, you're a little young yet." But yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, we're the upsetters, and as you can tell from just the conversation we've had here today, you're gonna laugh with us, you're going to agree with us, disagree with us, but we're a podcast family, and we're looking forward to all of our listeners and viewers being part of this. This is not just us talking. We're gonna hear from you and listen to some of your opinions and talk about them as well. We just wanted to take this time to introduce you to the podcast crew, the Upset Podcast, where it's actually okay to be upset. You guys agree with that? It's okay to be upset sometimes.
Should we put the president's email on here?
Absolutely not. And I was going to say, this podcast is, even though we're an affiliate of Allegheny East, the things that we say are our own opinions. They're not to be
disclaimers. Now we got to put out disclaimers.
Let me go ahead. I may need to get an official statement from General Counsel, but I just want to let you guys know.
Diapers now, so we want to make sure you can buy your diapers. Which,
you have to keep in mind that the other side of upset is set up.
That's right. We're setting you up for a better life. And in our next podcast, we're going to really break down for you what the upset is going to be about, the topics we're going to be covering, why the name Upset, that might upset you, but it's for a good reason. As Charles said, we're setting you up for something even better.
I thought that the title meant that we would be the set that would take everyone up. I was hoping for an ascension to occur at the end of every program, but you know.
You're the choir.
That would be nice. That would be nice. All right. So any closing remarks? Anything you need the people to know about you? So they
can I just say this? I think that the team that came together was a way that God put us together. I do believe this is a spiritual thing for all of us, not just us, but for those who are listening to be aware. And I just think that who we have here is going to allow us to push the envelope, because they know we're all Adventists. Everyone that's listening know we're Christians, but we just want to be able to use our own nuggets sometimes and just see what other thinkers are thinking. And I'm grateful to have you guys as a part of this, and I just think it's going to be great.
I'm excited about the idea. I'm glad we got a chance to introduce ourselves, because now people know who I really am. The constant comparison to Idris Elba is annoying to me.
I got you. I hear you.
And now that you know who I really am,
it's a little clear for us.
Yeah, clears it up.
Thank you.
It's hard on me.
I think essentially what I'd like to see is it's more than just thinking outside of the box. We may end up creating a new box.
Okay.
Let's do it.
And then after we create it, we're going to go outside of it and think again.
There you go.
And then we die.
Okay. All right.
All fired, right?
But it's a good thing. I mean, at least we're not going out quiet. We're kicking and screaming going out. And that's the way we ought to do it. It'll just I'm sorry, my bad.
I know the resemblance is uncanny. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm looking forward to the dialogue with this group. And like I said, in our next podcast, we're going to be talking about some of the things you can expect from this team of upsetters. And we're really setting you up for something good. And we hope you're ready for this journey with us. All right, guys. We'll see you next time on the Upset Podcast.
All right.
We're
Take
out.
care.